this evening because we've been following their actions and their inactions and what have you, their groupings, their meetings, nocturnal meetings here and there, in their effort in what they call the coming together of the opposition in a coalition to remove Thiefnubu in 2027. How that is going to play out is yet to be decided, but the players are already like grouping, here and there. So since the coalition guys came together that they will be using the ADC as their platform to face Kolu in 2027, immediately the party became known, their problem started. Starting with some members who felt like give them that benefit of the doubt. Okay, so they felt like the characters that are coming to their party are more or less like the hijackers whose only plan of using the party, right, is just to hijack power. And the former owner, or let me say the owner of the party, the person who started, the founder, right, who cut the deal with Atifku and others, right, signed it off, more or less like a buyout. So other members of the party, like the former governor in Gombe, someone called, Ebunu Gombe or something, and then the former presidential candidate of the party, the two of them have been laying claim to the leadership of the party if their former leader or the founder probably resigned and sold out. So that has now led to court case, as expected, but court cases. Kashiku has his own case against this David Mark Aregbe, Shola Aregbe Muguaba Kabiru as their national secretary, right? And there is another one by this Mr. Gumbe from Gombe. Okay. So the news broke this morning, and it was that a court had ruled that David Marco Aregbe should stop parading themselves as the national officers of the or leaders of the party because they were never democratically elected. They were just imposed. And the platform or the medium that released the news was the TVC. Should have been suspicious. Well, after that, the spokesperson for their party, his name is Bolaji Abdullahi. He came out and he said, no, in fact, the court rejected the proposal of, invalidating, their appointments, so to say. But here is a copy of that, their court, by the way, or the court order, right? So the court order is different from the plaintiff's prayer, according to what you have on your screen, right? So Mr. Nafiu Bala Gumbi is the plaintiff. And of course, ADC, Mark, Aregbe, INEC, and others, right? And Raf Nwosu is the founder. So they are all put together in the case, as a defendant or respondent. So Raf Nwosu was the one who ceded his control of the party to David Mark and Aregbe in the in the belief that they are going to form a coalition that will then choose a candidate that all of them will rally behind in chasing Thiefnubu. So Mr. Gombe's prayer, like an interim order, as requested, and what was later granted. So the prayers and the order, or should I say it is hereby ordered as follows. So now the ADC came out and said, no. There is no judgment that, delegitimize them whatsoever. In fact, it was an order that says every party should be present in court on a particular day to determine if they are going to grant the prayer of Mr. Gumbi. Now, don't forget that majority of the oppositions in Nigeria believes that, well, to some extent, they believe that every crisis in their party, in their group, right, is orchestrated and being kind of like funded by the external factor. And that external factor is a call Thiefnubu. So yesterday, Abdullahi was with Sheung, yeah, on politics today. He had this to say first about this their court case, then to the next one.
The coalition says it was set to rescue the country from collapse and rebuild its democracy. Let's now get to talk about this. I'm being joined on the program by the spokesperson of the ADC, Malam Balaji Abdullahi. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
What does this mean for the David Mark-led ADC?
Of course, it means that I don't know what you mean when you say David Mark-led ADC. Why you are not asking me what does it mean for ADC? You say what does it mean for David Mark-led ADC? As if there is another ADC.
Yeah, well, there's been a contention. You were waiting for this to happen as a confirmation.
Yeah.
Now that this has happened, there's still people who are contesting whether or not David Mark.
When you say what now happens to ADC, then I can answer you. But when you say what happens to David Mark-led ADC, and I answer you, I'm inadvertently admitting that there is another ADC. Or there's another leadership.
But of course, you are aware that there are other people who are contesting. Umedi is in court. Honorable Lekabegi, there are those who are saying, no, we cannot. You have not come to the party in the right way.
We're not aware that anybody is in court against ADC. At this moment, we're not aware. You see, what we have found is that people hold press conferences and make claims and make threats, but in the end, because they know the hollowness of their standing, they know they cannot follow it through. As far as we are concerned in ADC, we are not aware of any case, any legal case, any case against the ADC as I talk to you. So what we have is the administrative process, the completion of the administrative process of changing the leadership of the ADC from where we're coming from to where we are to, from where we want to be.
But you know he's lying because they are actually in court. They have their own lawyers responding to all these cases. But he had to make it look more or less like not serious, right? One of the fears of people that have been religiously following their political activities and the political players in Nigeria, at least for some time now, right? One of their was what do you call it? Fear is the fact that Thiefnubu and his gang, I usually use that word, Thiefnubu and his gang, they tend to have a wider kind of like tentacles, which is laced with all kinds of, stuff to either get people to whip people back on the line or neutralize them politically, like fully. Let me explain what I mean by that. The likes of Abdullahi, Bolaji Abdullahi, right, a career politician himself, would tell a lie, all right, with a bold face sometimes to dismiss what is really obvious. However, behind all of that, okay, they are also battling with internal, kind of like internal saboteurs, people who are willing and ready to play internal sabotage, to sabotage you from within. And this particular fear, right, is probably like originated from what the likes of Thiefnubu and gang have pushed. So when you see them come out and say, Thiefnubu is responsible for the crisis in our party, but hey, no, we don't even have a problem. We don't really have, we don't have any problem. That kind of confusion is synonymous with, these guys, so to say. But leaving that, Bolaji Abdullahi and and others, okay, I want to, I kind of like want to believe that they are as brutish as Thiefnubu can be. And what do I mean by that as well? Normally, if you want to join a political party, right, you have to like join normally and possibly like rise through the ranks. But if you have money, you can jump the progression, like the process, and go straight to the front. But what they believe, right, will be matching to whatever Thiefnubu and his gang are up to, will be like a total takeover, non-negotiable takeover kind of. Sure, you get where they have to be so brutish. Everybody along their path, in this sense, like Thiefnubu would do, anyone along their path can be considered as collateral damage, the way the whole thing is going. And somehow they will tell you that it is justified if you have an idea of somebody, I mean, the person you are actually dealing with, that is a call. On the other hand, as well, they want to make themselves presentable, or should I say, they want to present themselves as alternative in all things, whereby, when they talk about democracy, rule of law, and following due process and the rest, if wherever you see lacking in APC, like a one-man show, no, it's not going to be existing in our own group. We want to present ourselves to you as the best alternative to wherever APC is not. As much as it is difficult for a lot of people to believe that. So Balaji Abdullahi, in that same conversation, right, had this to say about why there could be an alternative and why anybody, like anyone who is instituting cases and all that against them, should be considered as enemies of Nigeria, because they are on a rescue mission. We are coming to rescue you, and that is why we renegotiated the entire political structure, because the only way it can work for us, right, is that we need a platform that we are the ones in control of. And being in control of your own sort of like a platform, right, is should be 100%. So to them, that seems to have been like, achieved. So any form of opposition to that, right? They want you to see that as an opposition to an effort to rescue you, like they are presenting themselves that way. I haven't added my own opinion yet, too. Just speaking from what they are doing and what they are saying, okay? Yeah, Abdullahi.
We want Nigerians to get to 2027 and ask themselves, has this ruling party improved our lives or made our life worse? And decide whether they want to continue with this ruling party or they want a change. So we want a situation when people want a change, they can look back and see our party as a viable alternative. So this has nothing to do, most of these governors you mentioned can't. I saw a video yesterday of a state governor that went to a village in a state, and he was met with people saying, we don't want you. And they started chanting ADC, ADC. I can send the video to you. So what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter that we have, what we are trying to do has probably not been done in a long time. In 2014, 2015, you have a merger of political parties. And I think it's actually unprecedented. But now we have merger of individuals. And ADC is one party that we're trying to build on the principle of egalitarianism, equal membership. So you will see that when every member feels empowered in their respective position to provide leadership, whether at zonal level or at state level or at ward level, then you begin to see that everybody is committed into delivering the objective of the party. We are not worried about how many officers we are not worried about that.
It's whether or not Nigerians will accept you ahead of 2027.
It's our duty to convince them that we represent the alternative. And that's
it's
what
a question of whether or not Bola Tinubu could be given a chance in 2027 to finish what he started. Or
what has he started?
People could look at the PDP and say, oh, we trust you, you've been on the ground for a while.
Those are options. But the most important thing is that when Nigerians look at APC, Nigerians will ask themselves, are we happy with this government? The condition, the situation that was created in the country before we came on board was a condition of fait accompli, where Nigeria was gradually becoming a one-party state. That the only option available was the ruling party. Now you cannot say that 2 months after. What we have done is that we have opened up the political space. Nigerians feel they have. We want Nigerians to.
That's another argument of theirs. That if you take a look at the actions of Thiefnubu and his agent, right, they are tilting Nigeria towards a one-party state where mushroom political parties, they will exist, right, and they will just be there to struggle for any of the leftover crumb offices or positions. So they will never form majority. So one single party will dominate as long as they want. So this is what they are selling to Nigerians to, like, listen, you are tilting towards a one party state, and Thiefnubu is just this close to achieving that. All right. And the way they do their one party state is not like there will be no existence of other parties that pretended to be, big parties. So what you are going to have is going to be parties that are just appendages of the ruling party. So that's kind of like, I don't know how people probably sees that, because I've not really had any, I've not really seen any engaging conversation around that. Like, okay, hang on, this is your democracy, right? To protect it simply means that it must be multi-party democracy, which gives people enough choices, and at the same time, with a free and fair, free and fair election, instead of a flea and there's something called a flea and fear, not like free and fair elections. So that's what democracy would have been like multi-party. So everybody can choose wherever they want from any party to represent them. But with Thiefnubu and his gang, you see the PDP singing on your mandate. You see APGA, you see Labour Party, you see other supposed opposition parties whose job were just to do the checks and balances to keep the government on our toes and keep them responsible to the people. Rather, majority of them ended up joining and singing on your mandate, they shall stand. You get that now? So the argument is plausible, but what really kind of bothers so many is the fact that they would have to re-empower criminals who have had the opportunity, right, to change their lives, but they made their life worse too. So they have packages of sins that many are finding so difficult to ignore, not to even talk about forgiving. So in these in all of this, some are also believing that no matter how you see it, if you put one and two or three together as things are going right now, uh, it is still pretty much going to work in the favor of Thiefnubu, because it seems that the schemers, the planners, and they all have different end goals. Not everyone is probably really willing to get rid of APC, because their own terms too is like somebody saying, well, I have to be presidential candidate. If I am not, then I'm not going to be part of this. Do you get that now? So you also have the obedient themselves who are saying, okay, we may kind of pretend that we don't know that you guys are, the real criminals that everybody is trying to get rid of, right? But we can ignore that if you can make Obi their presidential candidate. And that's why some of them are already saying it is Obi or nothing. So in the long run, right, you have the PDP, you have ADC, and then you have B, who is just like the constant factor, constantly kind of like appearing in the entire plans for the Thiefnubu and his gang. They wouldn't mind Obi, okay, to become estranged with these guys. Don't join them. They just want to use you, blah, blah, blah. Go alone. And at the same time, they wouldn't mind the PDP to also field someone, ADC field someone. Everything ends up in the same way, even if it's going to be like a tiny way of